No seats for the poor here.
Michelle, the mother-in-law, was standing in a way that blocked the newlyweds. The bride, Emily, seemed to be perplexed by her mother's actions. We felt the same. I exchanged glances with my son, Alex. Today is Alex and Emily's wedding. It was supposed to be their big day, yet somehow Michelle had taken control over the occasion. I looked at Michelle. The look she gave me and Alex was one of utter disdain. Well, if that's how it is, there's nothing to be done.
Should we head out?
Yeah. We decided to leave the venue. I could hear Emily apparently complaining to Michelle about something. Michelle didn't think she was in the wrong. She thought we, coming from a single-parent household and being poor, were to blame. But I disagree. What's wrong with a single-mother household? How are we lesser? I should let Michelle know. Show her the seriousness of raising a son on my own. My name is Mary, 50 years old. At 25, I was blessed with a son named Alex. But soon after his birth, my husband, David, died in a car accident, leaving for heaven. For the next 25 years, I raised and supported Alex on my own. I didn't remarry. I devoted myself to part-time jobs day after day. All that hard work was finally about to pay off.
I've got a girlfriend. I want you to meet her.
How much relief those words brought me. However, Alex's engagement brought new turmoil to our family.
How much does Alex make a year?
The first words were not greetings, but a question. It was a lavish mansion. As I was surprised by the incredibly comfortable chairs, Alex's fiancée, Emily, and her mother, Michelle, appeared. As Alex hesitated but revealed his income, Michelle snorted arrogantly.
Is that all?
Mom, stop it.
Emily frowned. I must have had a similar expression. Michelle seemed like a rude person, and that was my honest impression.
Thank you for coming today.
Emily said, trying to smooth things over.
I've made some tea. It's my favorite brand.
Please don't bother. They wouldn't know the difference anyway.
Mom.
Emily looked hurt. Sitting opposite Emily, Alex said,
Maybe I can't tell the difference in taste, but I'd like to hear what Emily has to say.
Alex, thank you.
A smile finally appeared on Emily's face. Michelle watched their exchange with displeasure. She didn't seem to approve of Emily and Alex's relationship.
May I have a moment?
What is it? Michelle beckoned me, and I was led to another room. She probably didn't want to cause any more discomfort to Emily. That meant whatever she was about to say was bound to be unpleasant.
Is he out of his mind?
Excuse me.
Your son. Just what kind of nerve does he have to approach Emily with such low income?
Michelle raised her voice hysterically. I was speechless. Alex graduated from a fairly well-known university and works for a decent company. And he met Emily at his workplace. Meaning, in terms of income, they compared well with each other. Yet, she was unilaterally treating Alex as the villain.
The one to inherit this house is Emily's brother, Mike. So, she will eventually leave to marry into another family.
And it bothers you that she is marrying into ours.
Of course.
Michelle was so agitated, her face turned red.
I hired a detective to investigate you. You're a single mother family, aren't you?
So what? I tilted my head. I felt no shame in being a single parent. Sure, there were days I came home late. Those days might have made Alex feel lonely. But as a result, Alex grew up to be a fine person.
After all the hardship I put you through, I'll protect you from now on.
I'll never forget those words my grown-up son told me. Staying true to his word, Alex made strenuous efforts. He went to university on scholarships and always kept his grades at the top. After graduating, he got a job at his current company and repaid his student loans by himself. He is my pride and joy. Having my son slandered like this, I couldn't stay silent. With all due respect,
You just irresponsibly had a child and the man ran away, didn't he? How disgraceful.
you're the one with a terrible habit of making awful assumptions. I said, my fists trembling. Michelle frowned.
What did you say?
Why can you only come up with such vulgar imaginations? You are the one that must be out of your mind.
I won't allow you to ridicule my wife any further.
A low, growling voice was heard. When I looked up, an elderly man stood at the entrance of the room, glaring at us.
My dear.
Michelle ran towards the man with a shriek. The man gave a sloppy smile and embraced Michelle. Apparently, this man was her husband, George. Michelle wore a triumphant smile. It seems she believes being married makes her superior.
Listen to this, darling.
Yes, I understand.
George, who had been sweet-talking his wife, suddenly changed his expression and glared at me.
If you continue to insult Michelle, we'll have to call a lawyer.
You were the ones who started berating Alex one-sidedly. I protested, but it was useless. George, completely smitten with Michelle, saw me as an enemy.
So someone like you is going to become Emily's family. Emily is not a good judge of character, it seems.
Indeed.
They both looked down on me and Alex together. As I was at a loss for words, footsteps approached.
Stop it, both of you.
Emily.
I thought it was strange that you suddenly disappeared, so I came looking.
Alex said with a voice choked with anger.
Emily, I'm sorry. We're going home now.
Alex.
Emily looked down sadly. Alex's face showed a moment of regret, but he quickly composed himself.
Let's go, Mom.
Yes. Alex started to walk, pulling my hand. Michelle's voice was thrown at our backs.
Don't ever come to our house again.
As if we would. Emily wasn't at fault. It was pitiful that she was caught in the middle. But I couldn't forgive her parents. What should I do? Is it okay to just watch over Alex and Emily's relationship? Hey, Alex.
I have no intention of breaking up with Emily.
As if sensing my turmoil, Alex spoke. But his eyes looked down, filled with apology.
I really love Emily.
I see. With those words and expression, I made up my mind. I'll support you too.
Mom.
He must have thought I would oppose them. Alex broke into a smile. And that smile made me smile too. I've been quietly watching over Alex and Emily's relationship. Since then, we haven't seen Emily's parents. Emily seems to avoid the topic, preferring to talk about other things when she visits our home. That naturally makes Alex to take the lead in conversations. They don't immerse themselves in a world of just the two of them. They also engage me in their conversations. I was very grateful for that.
Mom, about the wedding venue.
Wedding venue? What do you mean? I tilted my head, and they looked at each other.
Come on, Mom. Get with it. We just talked about it. About me and Emily's wedding.
Wedding? I couldn't help but exclaim in shock. So you two are finally getting married.
My parents are against it, but it's our life.
Emily seemed conflicted. But underlying it all was determination. It seems Emily has chosen to walk through life with Alex. As a mother, could there be anything more delightful? I've grown quite fond of Emily. If she's going to support Alex as his wife, I couldn't be more reassured. I found myself tearing up. Alex noticed and was startled.
Mom.
I'm sorry. I know it's too early to cry, but I hurriedly wiped my tears. Emily offered me her handkerchief, a design of light blue clovers scattered on a white background.
Mary.
Thank you. I was happy, having such a kind son and his bride-to-be. But this happiness was mercilessly shattered. The nightmare began at the wedding reception. I stopped in confusion. Looking around the venue, there was no seat for me. I checked around again, but still couldn't find my seat. Thinking it might have been a mistake by the venue staff, I approached them. Excuse me.
Oh, you're still here.
The reply didn't come from the staff, but from Michelle. With her arms crossed, she was smirking arrogantly.
Can't you read the room? This wedding is very important to us.
Michelle spoke down to me with a condescending tone. Indeed, Michelle was the one who arranged the entire ceremony. Every plan Emily decided on was rejected, and Alex's opinions were ignored entirely.
Mom, please.
Emily and Alex came over, looking distressed. Michelle stepped between them. As if to protect her child, she stood in between the newlyweds. And then she said those words.
There aren't any seats for poor people.
So Michelle never intended to provide a seat for me from the start. As the realization hit me, a sense of emptiness welled up inside.
Shall we go?
Yeah. Alex took my hand and we started to walk away, dazed. Emily seemed to be pleading with her mother, but Michelle remained unaffected. And thus, the nightmare wedding came to an end. As we got into the car, Alex's smartphone rang. It was from Emily.
Are you both okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry for leaving you alone.
It's not your fault. It's my mom's fault.
Emily's voice was clearly down. Alex probably wanted to be by Emily's side too. I looked up and said, "Stay with Emily."
But what about you, Mom?
I can get home by myself. I tried to remember how to smile, but my expression was stiff.
Sorry.
After hesitating, Alex went back to the ceremony. Driving home, I thought, What's wrong with a single mother family? Michelle had mentioned using a private detective. Then she must have looked into Alex as well. She doesn't understand Alex at all. But maybe that's for the better. Then it hit me. What am I trying to do? It's obvious. I'm going to make that detestable woman pay. I have all the cards I need. Michelle must have only looked at the information that were convenient for her. That's why she didn't notice. When I got home, I waited for Alex. He came back with Emily.
I'm sorry about my mother.
It's okay. I had managed to regain a calm expression. The two of them seemed to be relieved by that. As they looked at each other with a sigh of relief, I said, Alex, I'll call Grandpa.
Huh?
Alex's smile vanished. Emily looked puzzled.
What's wrong?
My grandpa, William. He's the CEO of Rainbow Group.
That's...
Emily seemed to understand the situation. In a flustered tone, she said,
Isn't there another way?
I've reached my limit. I said in a low, groaning voice. William promised me, when David passed away in an accident, that he would help whenever we needed any help. It was the day David passed away and became unable to ever make it home.
Should we take Alex in? It's stuff on your own.
William had offered, but I didn't agree. I can raise Alex by myself.
Is that so?
Upon that agreement, William made me that promise. The moment to fulfill that promise finally arrived.
My father was actually supposed to take over the Rainbow Group.
Alex said, looking down.
I had no idea you came from such a distinguished lineage.
I'm sorry for not telling you, but I hated being judged by the glitz of my family's background.
I understand that feeling, but I wish you had told me.
Emily's voice had sunk completely. No wonder. The Rainbow Group is a globally famous corporation. Having made an enemy of someone backed by such a corporation, Michelle was doomed. They were finished. The sanctions began immediately.
It seems our clients are pulling out one after another.
Is that so? I nodded without much surprise. Since then, Emily had gone home only once to pick up her things and had stayed away from her parents' house. She's been mainly staying at our place. She's been helping out with chores too, as much as she could. But her silhouette was far from that of a blushing bride. Emily was caught between her family and her marital home right now. It must be unbearably difficult for her. Alex was noticeably worried about the exhausted Emily. He bought her favorite sweets on his way home from work and seemed to be listening to her feelings now and then.
If this continues, my family will be left homeless.
It can't be helped. As Emily sheds tears, I heave a sigh in response. William accepted me as David's wife, despite our mismatched family backgrounds and education levels. It was all because of his trust and love for his child, who chose me.
That's...
Emily faltered. Emily's family criticized us solely for coming from a single mother family. They looked down on Alex, deeming him unworthy of joining their family. But what about the reality?
Can that scrawny guy really be the grandson of the president of such a huge corporation? No way.
Maybe it's better to apologize now.
Don't be ridiculous.
What Emily overheard when she returned home to pick up her belongings was such an exchange between her parents. However, since that was the only time she visited her home, she didn't know how their conversation turned out afterwards.
My mom's not the type to apologize to anyone.
I suppose so. Some people only feel fulfilled by looking down on others. Such a dull person. Sad too.
What about suggesting an apology to your family?
It's pointless. If anything, it would just make my mom more stubborn.
What a troublesome person.
Alex cradled his head. Emily also looked down, shaking her head. It seemed there was no way for them to break out of this situation. I didn't have it in me either. Or rather, I never even intended to stop them. Michelle and her people were drunk on power, and they looked down on others. They were the type who wouldn't hesitate to trample over those around them. And by misjudging who to look down upon, they now find themselves on the receiving end of disdain. Being utterly crushed by power was only a matter of time. What will they do now? If they are as competent as they claim to be, they'll figure something out on their own.
Mary,
Emily finally broke down in tears.
Mom, that's enough. Maybe it's time to talk to William.
That was when Alex spoke up. A call came through on Emily's smartphone. Emily looked up. She wiped her tears and checked the notification. Her eyes widened.
Mom,
Go on. They must have something to say, too.
yes,
At my urging, Emily obediently answered the call. Loud voices could be heard from the speaker, even on this end.
You traitor, running away the moment things get tough for our family? Aren't you ashamed?
I'm not running away.
Emily sounded somewhat indignant. And rightfully so. She wasn't running from anyone. Yesterday and today alike, she's been facing reality head-on, worrying about her family while deliberately staying with her in-laws. It was to stop me, not to ingratiate herself with us. Emily became assertive.
Mom, you see, this is what happens when you judge people superficially.
Don't act like you understand.
The enraged voice of Michelle. In contrast, Emily remained calm. Perhaps, having suffered herself, she sees things more clearly now.
Why did you have to be so mean? I wanted to get along with my new family, but you couldn't do that.
That woman isn't right for our family.
Michelle seemed to have narrowed her disdain down to me alone. I bit my lip. Yes, I was born into an ordinary family, and nothing stood out about me, neither my educational background nor my looks. Yet, someone accepted me, liked me for who I am. He was the heir to a distinguished family, and at first, I was apprehensive. But eventually, we were drawn to each other and decided to marry.
You won't regret this.
That's all William asked.
How could I?
I can't forget David's face when he answered. His warm, dependable profile, promising to protect me. And yet, David broke that promise so easily. My beloved, who quickly made his journey to heaven alone. Tell Michelle.
What should I tell her?
I shake off my self-mockery, speaking in my usual tone. That I will give you guys a chance. What a proposal, even by my own standards. I didn't even know what kind of face I was making at the moment. Let William come over, and you can directly appeal that this treatment is unjust.
That's exactly what I want.
It seems my voice reached her without the need for Emily to mediate. Michelle said with a voice that seemed to muster her last bit of pride.
I can't believe how you got upset over such a trivial matter and go against us.
It is trivial indeed. I don't mind being the focus of attacks and insults. But I wonder what will become of Alex, becoming the son-in-law of someone with Michelle's character. It's uncertain when he, too, might receive poor treatment. So, this isn't about pride. It's a battle of a mother worrying and fighting to protect her child. Michelle seems not to understand that. Thus, the direct confrontation that ensued was quite pitiful.
I'm sorry.
What exactly are you apologizing for?
As soon as he entered the room, George apologized. William was sitting on the sofa observing them. Michelle looked down at her husband with disgust.
My dear.
Won't you apologize with me? This is entirely our fault.
George started to sob. I stood beside William. Alex and Emily weren't allowed to be present. William judged it to be too harsh a scene for them to witness.
Entirely.
William's eyebrows twitched slightly.
Be specific. What did you do, and what do you think was wrong?
That's...
George fell silent. Apparently, he couldn't answer the question. No surprise there. They don't truly believe they were in the wrong. They're just apologizing, trying to appease William, and waiting for the storm to pass. The same psychology as a child being scolded by a teacher at school.
You don't even know what you're apologizing for, do you?
That's, well...
George looked at Michelle, troubled. Michelle forced a smile.
It's about the misunderstanding where Mary's seat wasn't prepared, right? We're so sorry.
A misunderstanding. I raised my voice. I remember, there's aren't any seats for poor people.
What are you talking about?
Michelle looked bewildered. I was dumbfounded. Michelle was trying to act as if nothing wrong had happened, taking advantage of William not being there then. How much lower can you sink?
You're the one who should stop with the paranoid fantasies. Stop speaking ill of us any further.
That's enough.
William said, sounding fed up.
So you insist it was all just a misunderstanding?
Of course.
Michelle answered immediately. Hope was evident in her eyes. If she could just convince William, they would win. But in the next moment, William became furious.
How far will you go with your lies? I have confirmed the actions of you and everyone present at the venue, not just Alex and Emily.
Everyone. No way.
The light faded from Michelle's eyes. And then she just slumped down right there.
Please, dearest, do something.
She clung to George beside her, but George was just crying. Facing the pitiful couple, William said,
If you had sincerely apologized for your rudeness, I could have forgiven you. But what about now? Nothing but lies for self-preservation. I'm so appalled I don't know what to say.
It's not like your son chose any better with such a trivial woman.
Michelle shouted in fury.
Weren't you frustrated that such a woman became David's wife?
Do you hate Mary that much?
William looked rather piteous. Michelle said, almost screaming.
Yes, I didn't like that woman, so I was mean to her. And for just that, why do I have to suffer like this?
Because your way of thinking is incompatible with mine.
William's voice became almost instructive.
I tried to get to know what kind of person Mary was.
William looked at me. I instinctively straightened up. William had an air of a sage who had attained enlightenment.
David wouldn't choose a strange woman. So I thought there must be something appealing about this person. I wanted to know what that was, so we talked.
That's a waste of time.
Michelle spat out, but William remained calm.
Mary is kind and hardworking. She raised Alex on her own and did a fine job. David's choice wasn't wrong.
That makes perfect sense.
George cozied up to William, seizing what he saw as an opportune moment. He seemed to be looking for a chance to beg for forgiveness in his own way.
It's different with Michelle. Michelle is not the best when it comes to judging one's character. That's why she's set against Mary and Alex.
You're a coward.
What?
George was speechless. William slightly frowned.
So, you intend to push all the blame onto Michelle. Firstly, if that's the case, you're also at fault for choosing a woman with such poor judgment.
No way.
Enough.
Michelle erupted in anger. All eyes turned to her. Michelle twisted her lips and said,
William, you really want to side with Mary, don't you?
Obviously.
William nodded.
Then, talking is a waste of time, isn't it?
I think so too.
When William nodded again, Michelle had already turned on her heel.
Let's go. It's useless to say anything more. From here on, we'll have to find a way to rebuild the company on our own.
Don't say it like it's easy. With William's pressure, all our clients have left us.
George's feeble attitude seemed to displease Michelle. Michelle said with an irritated voice,
Then, we'll just have to find new clients.
That's
George also left as if he was dragged along. Left behind, I sighed. Thank you, William.
Don't mention it.
William shook his head leisurely. Then he said, as if to reassure me,
You earned my trust through your own strength and actions. And they, through their own words and actions, earned my disappointment.
yes. William had not sided with me unconditionally. It was my trust that made him support me. Meaning, if I ever stray from the right path, William won't help me anymore. I'll remember that, William. I said goodbye to William respectfully. The downfall of the Michelle couple was conveyed through Emily. She has been staying at our house, but since then, she started receiving calls from Michelle.
Emily, come back home now. Help with the family business.
No, Mom, I'm not coming back.
Determination was in Emily's eyes.
I know what you think, Mom. You want to marry me off to a wealthy family, don't you?
My dear child.
It seems Emily hit the nail on the head. Michelle's groan could be heard all the way over here. Let me talk to her.
But
It's okay. I gave a gentle smile. Emily nodded and handed me her smartphone. Michelle,
How dare you make me listen to that voice of yours?
I don't enjoy talking to you either. I took over the call to settle things with Michelle myself. At the same time, it was also out of consideration for Emily. I made an effort to speak in a calm voice. I've decided to forget about your malice.
Huh?
A baffled response came back. I continued speaking. I don't want to be involved with you forever. That's why I've decided to forget about you. Hating someone is just exhausting and brings me no benefits.
Don't give me that high and mighty talk.
Michelle growled like a carnival.
I won't forget you. I'll hold a grudge against you for life.
In his voice, I thought I could see why William did not accept Michelle's apology. That chilling voice. Then goodbye.
Give me back Emily.
Emily is Alex's wife.
I'll make them divorce right now.
Michelle screamed. That's impossible. I had something to tell Michelle. Something she should also know. Emily is pregnant. It's Alex's child.
What?
After that, Michelle fell silent. She seemed unsure how to react. After a moment of silence, Michelle spoke. Her voice was trembling.
Please, give me back Emily. I don't care about the baby.
You're still saying things like that. I sighed. When I looked over at Emily, she was gently stroking her barely showing belly. Would she really consider abandoning her unborn child to return to her parents' house? Impossible. How could a mother not understand that? Do you intend to separate Emily from her child?
If she has a child, she won't be able to remarry.
Michelle was being selfish. It seemed she intended to use Emily for their own convenience. Please don't involve yourself with Emily anymore.
I am her mother.
Although she was sounding a little feeble, she did not back down.
Give her back to me.
Don't be unreasonable. I'm hanging up now.
Wait, pregnancy. That's a lie. She wouldn't.
Michelle was panicking.
Let me talk to her again.
That's.
I'll talk to Mom.
Emily intervened, seemingly unable to watch any longer. She was in a delicate state now. I didn't want to stress her, but ultimately, I handed her the phone.
Mom,
Emily, it's a lie, right? That woman is lying, right?
Mom, it's all true.
Emily said in a calm voice.
I'm going to become a mother in this house, so I can't meet your expectations. And don't call me anymore.
Her voice carried a certain firmness. Michelle groaned, seeming troubled. Eventually, her voice became muffled. She seemed to be crying.
Emily, please. We have no other options. Our home is falling apart. If that happens, Dad and Mom have nowhere to go. We're shunned by our relatives. We don't know what to do.
You're an adult. It is your responsibility to figure out things like that yourself. Taking back the phone, I said, all of this is the result of your actions. Michelle had to take responsibility as an adult. She had to face the consequences for scorning Alex and me just because we came from a single-parent family.
Wait.
Michelle's voice was desperate. I silently ended the call. Despite persistent calls afterwards, Emily narrowed her eyes in exasperation and turned off her smartphone. William also rejoiced at Emily's pregnancy.
This time round, I would also want to be part of this child's family.
Yes, please come visit our home.
Alex answered proudly. Our home has become too small, so it's been decided we'll move to a new house next spring. It's a bit inconvenient due to the distance from the station, but in exchange, it has a large garden. It was a home filled with dreams like growing a home garden or nurturing flowers. Since then, Michelle has been remarkably silent. Occasionally, George contacts Emily, but it seems all he talks about are the screams about the company that's gone downhill and his grievances against Michelle.
Dad's always blaming others. I wish he would be a bit more responsible.
Yeah, he's going to be this child's grandfather, after all.
Alex said with a laugh. Emily also showed a smile. Watching their affectionate interaction made me feel fulfilled. Life in the new home was going smoothly. I quit my job to focus on household duties. Emily worked until her belly became noticeably larger, but is now on maternity leave at home. The baby born was a girl.
Olivia, it's nice weather, isn't it? The flowers are beautiful too.
When Emily smiled at her, the baby in her arms smiled back. The baby, given the name Olivia, resembled Alex more.
I wonder if Olivia likes flowers or Mommy more.
She smiles looking at both.
It's because she's happy that Mommy is beautiful.
Alex said, making Emily laugh. Let me hold her too.
Here.
I lifted my granddaughter, Olivia. She's just been born, a tiny life. And yet, her weight is felt firmly on the arms. What a good girl.
Yes, thanks to you.
Emily's smile has evolved from an innocent one to one that carries the wisdom of a mother.
William is coming over during the next holiday.
Oh, then we should start preparing now. I handed Olivia back to Emily and got up.
I'll help too.
Thank you. Well, the next holiday would be. I glanced at the calendar. The calendar was filled with various notes. Plans for the family's future and notes related to work schedules. And thus, I felt the tangible evidence of the passing months and years right there.